The door slammed open, shattering the quiet of the bedroom like a gunshot. I jumped up from the bed, heart pounding, disoriented by sleep, as my wife, Madison, stormed inside, mascara streaking her face, hair wildly disheveled, clutching her phone like a weapon. "You pathetic excuse of a man," Madison shrieked, her voice trembling with anger and disdain. "Did you really think you could humiliate me like this?" Confused and still half asleep, I stared at her, struggling to process her fury. "What the hell are you talking about, Madison? It's 2 a.m. You sent that filthy message to Ethan's wife," she snarled, throwing her phone at me. It bounced off my chest, landing face up on the bed. The screen illuminated our darkened room, displaying a screenshot of texts I had never seen before. My pulse surged as I glanced down, seeing explicit conversations between Madison and Ethan, a guy she'd sworn was just a coworker. My stomach twisted violently. The messages detailed secret hotel meetups, whispered conversations after hours, and her complaining about our lifeless marriage. Worst of all, she openly mocked my obliviousness, referring to me as her useless, clueless husband. The realization hit me harder than a freight train. "You're cheating on me?" I managed, my voice hollow. Madison laughed cruelly, a bitter sound that cut deep into my soul. "Cheating? You're hardly a husband, Ryan. You can barely call what we have a marriage." Her contempt was palpable, tearing through the last shreds of my dignity. Anger and humiliation burned my veins. I couldn't breathe. Ethan, the guy who'd shaken my hand at every company Christmas party, who I'd invited into our home for barbecues. The betrayal sickened me. "When did it start?" I demanded, clenching the phone so hard it dug into my palm. Madison's eyes narrowed, her voice dripping venom. "Does it matter? Fine. It started when I realized how weak and pathetic you really are. At least Ethan knows how to satisfy a woman." The words sliced through me, exposing every insecurity I'd ever had. Rage surged, white-hot, battling a crushing sadness. I moved toward her, not sure if I wanted answers or to scream. "Why? Why didn't you just leave me?" She stepped closer, her voice lowering into a poisonous whisper. "Because I enjoyed watching you pretend everything was fine, like a blind fool. You thought buying me things and smiling at my lies made you the perfect husband. You disgust me." Her cold honesty was brutal. The woman I loved, trusted, and married was nothing but a heartless liar. I stood frozen, the foundation of my life collapsing beneath me. "Get out," I hissed, barely recognizing my own voice. "Now." Madison tilted her head defiantly. "Or what? You'll do nothing as always. You're too spineless, Ryan." The rage I'd suppressed erupted, and before I realized it, I grabbed her bags from the closet, hurling them across the room. Clothes scattered chaotically, mirroring my fractured state. I said, "Get out." Her eyes widened briefly in shock before she masked it again with icy indifference. "You're going to regret this, Ryan. I'll make your life hell." "Trust me, Madison," I growled, the weight of betrayal fueling my strength. "You've already done that." She laughed mockingly, grabbed her coat, and stormed out, slamming the door behind her with a finality that resonated in the emptiness left behind. I collapsed onto the bed, chest heaving, mind spinning, overwhelmed by pain, anger, and betrayal. My phone buzzed suddenly, jolting me. A text flashed across the screen. It was Ethan's wife. "Olivia, we need to talk. I have something you should see." As my world shattered, it seemed the chaos had only just begun. I stared blankly at Olivia's text, unsure whether I was ready to dive deeper into this nightmare. My heart thudded heavily, every beat echoing Madison's harsh words. Olivia had always seemed like a sweet, quiet woman, completely unlike my venomous wife. If she had reached out, something serious was brewing beneath the surface. Despite the dread gnawing at me, I replied, fingers trembling slightly. "When and where?" Her response was instant, concise, and unsettlingly urgent. "Right now. Meet me at the diner on 8th Street. You need to know everything." Grabbing my keys, I stumbled from the empty house that already felt haunted by the life I'd imagined, a marriage now exposed as a lie. The drive felt endless, each street lamp casting shadows that taunted me, whispering Madison's cruel insults again and again. How did I miss all of this? Was I really that blind? Pulling into the dimly lit parking lot, I spotted Olivia immediately, huddled nervously in a corner booth. Her eyes were swollen, face pale and drawn, her coffee untouched. Sliding into the seat opposite her, the silence hung thickly before she finally spoke. "I'm sorry, Ryan. You deserved better than this," she whispered, her voice shaking. Her gentle sincerity only deepened my pain. "What exactly happened?" My voice sounded distant, strained. She took a deep breath, visibly steeling herself. "They've been seeing each other for months. Ethan came home late a lot with excuses about working overtime, but I started feeling something was off. So I followed him last night." She hesitated, eyes filling with shame. I found them at the Parkside Hotel. I saw everything. Madison, she saw me there, confronted me. She threatened that if I told you, she'd destroy my marriage too. But I couldn't let her get away with it, not after everything. The thought of Madison openly threatening someone else's happiness made me sick. I couldn't believe I'd ever loved her, shared a life with someone so callous. Did Ethan say anything? I asked weakly, trying to hold on to composure. Olivia shook her head bitterly. No. He stood there silent. Like a coward. Madison was screaming at me, saying she didn't care if you found out because you'd never have the backbone to do anything about it. She really thought she could silence me. My fists clenched involuntarily. Madison had stripped away every ounce of respect, trampling my pride. The anger I felt was suffocating, yet beneath it was a profound sadness. My mind flashed back to moments I'd ignored, Madison coming home late, the overly careful way she guarded her phone, the scent of unfamiliar perfume on her clothes. How long have you known? I asked, already dreading her answer. Olivia hesitated, eyes full of regret. About 6 months. I suspected something earlier, but I never had proof until recently. Ethan started acting weird, secretive. He changed just like Madison. 6 months. It felt unreal. 6 months of lies, of fake smiles, of sleeping beside a stranger who mocked me behind my back. My throat tightened painfully, tears threatening to betray me. Ryan, I know it hurts, but this isn't just about betrayal. There's something else you need to know, Olivia said hesitantly, her eyes filled with compassion yet fearful of what she'd reveal next. I braced myself, but nothing could have prepared me for what came next. Madison told Ethan she was pregnant. She's planning to tell everyone it's yours, but it's his. She thinks she can trap you or at least use you until she figures things out with him. The air left my lungs. A baby. Ethan's child. Her audacity was breathtakingly cruel. I dreamed of starting a family with Madison, but not like this, never like this. My vision blurred and I fought desperately to stay composed. How did I miss all of this? I muttered, burying my face into my hands. Shame mingled bitterly with my anger. Olivia reached across the table, gently touching my hand. You loved her, Ryan. That's not a weakness, it's hers. She didn't deserve you. As her kindness registered, I finally broke. Tears burned down my face, grief and humiliation crashing through me. Olivia quietly handed me a napkin, offering a silent comfort. After a long moment, I wiped my eyes, regaining control. What are you going to do? She finally asked softly. The question weighed heavily. What could I do? Confront Madison? Demand answers? Divorce immediately? Each option seemed impossibly painful. My life had unraveled so fast I wasn't sure where to turn. I don't know yet, I admitted, defeated. But one thing's clear, I'm done letting her control me. Olivia nodded solemnly. Whatever you decide, you're not alone. Her support felt genuine, unlike Madison's empty promises. As I left the diner, the weight of my shattered life pressed heavily on my shoulders. But beneath the anguish, I sensed something new emerging, determination. Madison had played her cards, confident she'd always hold the upper hand. But she underestimated me. Her threats had backfired, and now karma was coming swiftly and mercilessly. Driving home that night felt like drifting through an endless, suffocating fog. My mind kept replaying Madison's cruelty, her betrayal etched in every harsh word, every venomous insult. But Olivia's revelation had added a new, unbearable layer, the pregnancy. Ethan's baby. Madison planned to trap me in a web of lies, using me as a safety net while she chased after another man. Every red light I stopped at seemed to flash brighter, mocking my blindness. Pulling into the driveway, my stomach twisted as I spotted Madison's car already parked outside. She'd returned, likely confident I'd forgive, forget, and bend to her manipulations again. But that version of me was dead, killed by her betrayal. Stepping into the house, my skin crawled. Madison sat casually in the living room, legs crossed arrogantly, sipping wine as if nothing had changed. Welcome back, darling, she drawled sarcastically. Did Olivia fill your head with more pathetic lies? I clenched my jaw, forcing restraint. You lied to me about everything. You betrayed me with Ethan. You're pregnant and you think I'll just play along. Her eyes widened briefly in shock before quickly narrowing in fury. That lying bitch told you everything, didn't she? And you actually believe her? Don't waste your breath, I said coldly, stepping closer. I saw your texts. You think I'm that stupid? Madison scoffed dismissively, the venom returning to her voice. Fine. I cheated, okay? So what? You stopped being a husband years ago, Ryan. You're weak, pathetic, you bored me to death. Ethan made me feel alive again. Can you blame me? I swallowed hard, her blunt admission slicing deeper than expected. And the baby? I demanded, desperate to see if she'd tell even one truth. Her eyes flashed momentarily with shock before she quickly recovered, her deceit well practiced. It's yours, of course. You know I'd never. Enough. I shouted, my voice shaking with rage. No more lies. Olivia told me everything. Your plan backfired, Madison. Her eyes narrowed dangerously, the facade finally dropping entirely. Fine, she hissed bitterly, rising to face me head-on. Yes, it's Ethan's. But guess what, Ryan? You're gonna stay quiet and help me through this, or I swear, I'll ruin your life. Threaten me again, Madison, I said quietly, my tone calm but laced with resolve. See how far it gets you. Her face twisted into a hateful smile. You'll pay me alimony if you divorce me. I'll bleed you dry financially and emotionally. You think you're hurting now? Wait until I'm finished with you. In that instant, I saw Madison for who she truly was, a selfish, manipulative woman determined to destroy me for her pleasure. My resolve hardened. Do your worst. I'd rather be ruined than live another day in your twisted lie. For a brief second, genuine surprise flashed across her eyes, but she quickly masked it with a sneer. We'll see about that. She stormed upstairs, slamming doors in her wake, leaving behind only echoes of her cruelty. Alone again, I felt the walls closing in, grief gripping my chest. But beneath the pain simmered something stronger, determination. She might have shattered my trust, but I wasn't going to be her victim anymore. The following days were a blur of restless nights, torturous silence, and tension thick enough to suffocate. I consulted lawyers, prepared documents, mentally bracing for war. Meanwhile, Madison maintained her facade, smiling falsely in public, yet spewing venom privately, doing everything possible to turn friends against me. But her manipulations began unraveling quicker than she'd anticipated. Then one evening, everything shifted again. A frantic knock jolted me from restless sleep. I opened the door, finding Madison standing outside, panic replacing her usual arrogance. Her eyes were wide, filled with fear and desperation. Ryan, please, you have to help me, she stammered, visibly shaken. Her hands trembled as she reached toward me. Instinctively, I stepped back. What happened? It's Ethan, she whispered frantically. His wife kicked him out after finding proof. He blamed me. He lost it, Ryan. He threatened me. He's dangerous. A part of me twisted painfully, still protective despite her betrayal. But another part screamed in bitter triumph. Karma had found her. Her threat had boomeranged perfectly. And you thought running to me was your best option? I asked, voice icy. She blinked, confused, as though unable to comprehend my reaction. Ryan, please. I'm your wife. Were you thinking about that when you laughed behind my back? My words cut through her desperation, fueled by months of suppressed anger. You tried destroying my life, Madison. Now you need my help. Her face crumbled, the mask finally slipping. Ryan, please? I stepped back, eyes hardening. Figure it out yourself. I'm done. Closing the door firmly, I heard her cries fade into the night. Alone in the silence, I finally understood. I wasn't the weak one, Madison was. Betrayal hurts, but sometimes justice arrives precisely when you least expect it. Sleep never came that night. Instead, I paced the floor endlessly, replaying Madison's frantic pleas in my head. Seeing her desperate had been satisfying for a split second, but it quickly gave way to hollow emptiness. What had my life become? All I had left was bitterness and silence, interrupted only by my own haunted thoughts. The next morning, exhaustion weighing heavy, my phone buzzed relentlessly. Ignoring it at first, I finally glanced at the screen, 3 missed calls and multiple texts from Ethan's number. My heart rate quickened, apprehension creeping up my spine. With hesitation, I opened his message, each word burning into my memory. We need to talk. Meet me alone. Now. It felt surreal, a twisted scene from someone else's life. Ethan, the man who'd stolen everything I valued, now wanted something else from me. Anger and curiosity wrestled inside me as I dialed him back, bracing myself. Ryan, Ethan's voice was unsteady, almost pleading. I know this is messed up. Trust me, I'm not proud of what happened. You destroyed my marriage, Ethan. What more could you possibly want? There was a long pause, his breathing heavy before he continued, voice quieter now. Madison lied to you. She was using both of us. She told me she was leaving you months ago. But when I told her I wasn't leaving Olivia, she lost it. She threatened to ruin my life. I messed up, Ryan, but she's dangerous. I laughed bitterly. You expect sympathy from me? You helped her tear my life apart. No, listen, she set us both up, Ethan insisted, voice desperate. Those screenshots you got weren't an accident. She sent them herself, knowing you'd snap and blow things up. Madison wanted Olivia out of the picture, and she figured humiliating us both was her best shot. His words spun my head into deeper confusion. Could Madison really be that calculating, that twisted? Her anger and hatred suddenly made even more sense. But it didn't excuse Ethan's betrayal, not even close. Why tell me now? I demanded. Because Madison called Olivia this morning, Ethan replied, voice strained. She told Olivia she's pregnant, claiming I was leaving her for Madison. Olivia is devastated, she kicked me out. Madison is playing everyone, Ryan. My grip tightened on the phone, disbelief turning into cold fury. Madison had weaponized lies again, this time to destroy two families. Ethan was desperate, begging for an alliance against Madison's chaos. As he rambled, panic building in his voice, my anger hardened into resolve. Deal with your own mess, I snapped, cutting off Ethan mid-sentence. You both deserve each other. Ending the call abruptly, I sat down heavily, my mind spinning. Madison's manipulations ran deeper than I imagined. Yet, part of me still felt crushed by the woman I'd loved. How could I have missed the signs? How had I become blind to such betrayal? Later that day, exhausted from emotional turmoil, I began packing Madison's belongings into boxes. Every photo, every memory, every reminder of our life together burned in my hands. Her clothes, her jewelry, each item felt tainted, poisonous. As I threw her things into the hallway, my heart pounded furiously, each heartbeat bringing fresh waves of pain and relief. Suddenly, a car door slammed outside, followed by rapid footsteps. The front door flew open violently. Madison again, her expression twisted into pure fury. You're throwing out my stuff? She shrieked. You pathetic coward. Take your things and get out, I said coldly, blocking her path. You're done controlling me. You think you've won? She laughed hysterically, eyes flashing with hate. You're nothing without me. You'll crawl back begging. Watch. My jaw clenched, suppressing the urge to scream back. Madison noticed my silence, and her rage grew desperate. She lunged forward, grabbing a photo of us from the wall and smashing it on the floor. This is you, Ryan, broken, worthless, pathetic, she screamed, stomping the shattered frame. I stared at her, strangely calm amid her fury. She was losing control, spiraling rapidly into madness. Her power over me faded with every cruel word, replaced by pity and disgust. You destroyed us, Madison. You did this, I said calmly, standing firm. There's nothing left to break. For a moment, her bravado vanished, replaced by panic. Her eyes flickered desperately, searching for another weakness to exploit. Finding none, she straightened defiantly, jaw tightening. You'll regret this, she hissed, turning away sharply. As she stormed back out, glass crunching beneath her heels, I breathed deeply, feeling strangely liberated despite my shattered world. I was finally free of her poisonous grip. Yet, the cost was unimaginable. My marriage was over, trust obliterated, and my heart permanently scarred. Standing amidst the wreckage, surrounded by shards of a life I'd once cherished, I knew the road ahead would be painful. But for the first time, I felt in control, no longer a pawn in Madison's cruel game. I didn't know what came next, but one thing was clear, Madison's threats had finally backfired, delivering her the justice she deserved. Karma had arrived, and it was just getting started. The weeks following Madison's dramatic exit turned my home into a ghost town, a shell haunted by bitter echoes of arguments and painful memories. Every corner held reminders of our lies. Her perfume lingered, suffocating, taunting me. Nights became torture, memories replaying relentlessly. Sleep felt impossible, each passing day blurring into the next. Then one afternoon, just as life began to feel slightly manageable again, my phone buzzed sharply. It was Madison, yet again. I almost ignored it, my stomach tightening instinctively, but curiosity won out. What? I answered coldly, ready for more of her manipulative drama. Her voice shook with urgency, panic replacing her usual arrogant tone. Ryan, please. I need you right now. The desperation caught me off guard. Against my better judgment, I listened. Her breathing was rapid, panicked. I'm in trouble, real trouble, she whispered. Ethan snapped. He came here, accusing me of ruining his life, his marriage. He's lost it completely. He threatened me, Ryan. I'm scared. I hesitated, torn between bitter satisfaction and the instinctive urge to protect. Despite everything, the thought of her in danger stirred something deep within me, an echo of the love I'd once felt. But I reminded myself, this was Madison, the same woman who had crushed me without remorse. Call the police, I said, voice steady but cold. This isn't my problem anymore. Madison's voice cracked, becoming frantic. Ryan, please. He's still outside, waiting. He won't leave. He's crazy. I'm begging you, come help me. For a split second, old instincts tugged at me, protectiveness, obligation. But her past cruelty flashed through my mind, drowning out those feelings instantly. You chose this, I said calmly. Deal with it yourself. I hung up abruptly, heart racing. Guilt surged immediately, warring with righteous anger. I told myself repeatedly that she deserved this. Karma had finally come to claim its debt. Still, a small part of me felt uneasy, uncertain. Just then, my phone erupted again, not Madison this time, but Olivia. I answered hesitantly, dread creeping back. "Ryan, Ethan's gone crazy," Olivia sobbed frantically. "He went to your house. He said he's going to settle things with Madison once and for all. I think he has a gun. I'm calling the police now." My blood turned to ice. As much as Madison had betrayed me, the thought of her actually in danger shook me deeply. Without another thought, I raced to my car, heart pounding with dread, guilt, and anger tangled in my chest. The scene outside my old home was chaos. Police cars blocked the street, blue lights flashing sharply against neighbors' shocked faces. My pulse quickened, panic swelling. Shoving through the growing crowd, I saw Madison standing beside a police officer wrapped in a blanket, pale and trembling. Her eyes widened with shock and relief upon seeing me. Nearby, Ethan was cuffed, screaming wildly at the officers, his voice filled with raw hatred and desperation. His eyes met mine, filled with a crazed fury and blame. She did this. She destroyed everything. Madison's tear-streaked face was unreadable as she met my eyes. She looked shaken, genuinely scared for the first time. I walked closer, forcing calmness into my voice despite the turmoil inside. "Are you okay?" I asked stiffly, still battling resentment. She nodded weakly, voice barely audible. "Ryan, I'm so sorry for everything." For a brief moment, the sincerity in her eyes seemed real, almost vulnerable. Yet her previous lies lingered heavily, impossible to erase. "What exactly happened?" I asked, turning to the officer. The officer looked at me sympathetically. "The man, Ethan Walker, showed up armed, threatening your wife. He blamed her for ruining his marriage, losing his job. Thankfully, a neighbor called us before he did anything serious." I swallowed hard, reality hitting me. Madison's destructive choices had spiraled into genuine danger, affecting everyone around her. Her face, once arrogant and invincible, now showed real fear and regret. As police escorted Ethan away, handcuffed and defeated, he screamed hysterically, eyes wild and hateful. "She destroyed everything. She'll ruin you too, Ryan. Get away while you can." His voice echoed long after the police car doors slammed shut. Madison flinched visibly, stepping closer instinctively. I immediately stepped away, feeling numb. "This is your mess, Madison," I said softly, no longer angry, just exhausted. "Own it." She trembled, eyes pleading for understanding she didn't deserve. "Ryan, I never meant." "Enough," I interrupted sharply. "We both know you meant every word." I turned away, unable to look at her broken figure any longer. She was no longer the confident, manipulative woman I'd known. Instead, she stood there shattered, alone in the chaos she created. Driving away, my hands trembled on the wheel. The situation was more complicated than ever, the consequences far beyond what I'd imagined. Yet, in that moment, I felt relief, the clarity of knowing my life with Madison was undeniably over. She had dug her own grave, and Ethan had fallen into it with her. I was finally free to start again, bruised but wiser, determined never to make the same mistake twice. Yet something told me this was far from over. Madison's threats had backfired spectacularly, but the destruction she left in her wake wasn't finished yet, and neither was the justice that karma still had left to deliver. Days passed slowly, each one filled with lingering anxiety and the haunting echoes of Madison's betrayal. The media quickly picked up the incident, twisting my life into sensational headlines. "Love triangle turns violent," they claimed. My private agony became public gossip, neighbors whispering whenever I left the house, friends avoiding eye contact, unsure of what to say. Yet amid the chaos, one message brought clarity, an official email from Madison's lawyer. Divorce papers. Even now, in the wake of everything, she was seeking financial compensation, alimony, and half of everything I'd worked so hard to achieve. Anger surged fresh within me. This woman had destroyed our marriage, cheated openly, endangered both our lives, and now wanted payment for it? Determined not to be her victim, I hired the toughest divorce lawyer I could find. The meetings were brutal, each detail revisiting the wound Madison had so ruthlessly inflicted. As weeks dragged on, I saw her only briefly, across tables in cold conference rooms, her lawyer speaking confidently as if she were still the wrong party. Her defiant posture enraged me further, but beneath her arrogance I glimpsed something new: fear. She knew she was losing control, her carefully orchestrated plan crumbling under the weight of her own mistakes. But Madison wouldn't surrender easily. One afternoon, a frantic call came from Olivia, interrupting my attempts at rebuilding normalcy. "Ryan, Ethan was released on bail," Olivia warned, her voice tight with anxiety. "He's unhinged. He blames Madison, blames us, he even blames you. I'm worried he'll do something crazy." My stomach tightened. Ethan's anger was understandable, yet dangerous. Madison's manipulations had driven him to madness, and now his fury had no clear target. This wasn't over, not even close. That night, unable to sleep, anxiety churned through me relentlessly. I was staring aimlessly at the ceiling when a sudden, violent pounding at my door jolted me upright. My pulse skyrocketed as I approached cautiously. Through the peephole, Ethan stood outside, pacing erratically, eyes wild. "Ryan, open the door. Now," he screamed, hammering violently. "We need to settle this." Adrenaline spiked through me. I hesitated, every instinct screaming not to engage, yet something compelled me to confront him. I opened the door carefully, heart hammering. "What do you want, Ethan?" I asked cautiously, readying myself for anything. He lunged forward, eyes bloodshot, breath heavy with alcohol. "You ruined everything. Madison ruined everything. I lost my wife, my job, my whole life because of her, because of you." His fists clenched at his sides, and for a terrifying moment I expected violence. Yet beneath his rage was desperation and overwhelming sadness I'd never seen. "You made your choices, Ethan," I said steadily. "I didn't ruin your life. You did that yourself when you betrayed Olivia." "No," he rasped, swaying slightly. "Madison tricked me. She promised we'd have a future. But when things got messy, she threw me under the bus. She destroyed us both, Ryan." I stared into Ethan's tortured expression, seeing myself reflected in his shattered eyes. Despite our bitterness, despite the anger, we shared the same tragic fate, both betrayed by Madison's ruthless deception. Suddenly, police lights flashed sharply in the driveway behind him. Someone had called in Ethan's drunken spectacle. He turned around, startled, panic flooding his eyes. "No!" Ethan screamed. "I'm not going back." Before I could react, he bolted down the street. Officers chased after him, quickly subduing him amidst his wild resistance. Watching Ethan wrestle desperately against arrest, I felt no satisfaction, only deep sorrow for the chaos Madison had unleashed. My lawyer called early the next morning, his voice unusually upbeat. "We've got her, Ryan. Madison made a critical mistake, her threats to you, the blackmail, Ethan's testimony, it's all documented now. The judge isn't going to be sympathetic. She'll walk away with nothing." Relief surged through me, but it felt strangely hollow. Justice was coming, but at a steep emotional price. Later that day, in court, Madison sat silently, her confidence finally shattered, replaced by quiet defeat. When the judge's ruling echoed through the courtroom, no alimony, no settlement, all claims dismissed, I watched her closely. Her eyes filled with disbelief, then panic, then rage. She turned sharply toward me, voice trembling with fury. "You think this is justice, Ryan? You think you've won?" She spat bitterly. "I'll never forgive you for this." Her threat was empty now, a desperate attempt to regain control. I met her gaze evenly, feeling an unexpected calmness settle within me. "This was your doing, Madison. You brought it all on yourself." Defeated, humiliated, she stormed out of the courtroom. For the first time in months, I breathed freely. Madison's threats had finally, truly backfired. The truth had prevailed, her deceit crushed beneath the weight of evidence and karma. Walking out into sunlight felt symbolic. I was bruised, scarred emotionally, but undeniably stronger. Madison's betrayal had stripped me down, forcing me to rebuild from nothing. Yet I emerged with newfound clarity. I'd survived the worst, facing pain I thought impossible, and I was still standing. But I knew one final confrontation awaited me, facing myself. Madison was gone, her power over me shattered. Yet, the hardest part remained, forgiving myself for trusting someone capable of such cruelty. Only then would the healing truly begin. After the chaos faded, life gradually settled into an unfamiliar quiet. The storm Madison brought into my world had passed, but it left behind a permanent mark. Months slipped by, filled with reflection, rebuilding, and painful acceptance. I moved out of our house, the walls held too many bitter memories, and found a smaller apartment closer to work, a fresh start in a place untouched by Madison's deceit. One evening, as I unpacked the last box, I stumbled upon our wedding photo buried deep at the bottom. My heart skipped painfully, anger flaring briefly before fading into a dull ache. I stared at Madison's smiling face, her eyes bright with a happiness I now knew was never real. Carefully, deliberately, I tore the photo into tiny pieces, letting them drift into the trash. That chapter was finally completely closed. Time moved slowly, but healing happened gradually. Eventually, Olivia and I became friends, connected by our shared wounds, offering quiet support as we both rebuilt our lives. Ethan disappeared from the city entirely, crushed beneath the weight of his mistakes. Madison, I heard through friends, drifted aimlessly from job to job, relationship to relationship, always searching for happiness, yet never finding it. One afternoon, nearly a year after everything collapsed, my phone lit up with an unexpected message from Madison. Curiosity got the better of me and I read her brief text. Ryan, I'm sorry. I lost everything and I realize now how horribly I treated you. I don't expect forgiveness, just needed you to know that you deserved better. I stared at her words, waiting for anger, bitterness, or pain. Instead, I felt nothing, no hurt, no fury, just quiet indifference. I realized then I was finally free, not just from Madison, but from the chains of resentment I'd carried for too long. I deleted her number, closed my phone, and stepped into the warmth of the afternoon sun. Reflecting back, I realized Madison's cruelty had forced me into strength I didn't know I possessed. Her betrayal destroyed my illusions, but it gifted me wisdom. Trust was precious, but never blind. Love could heal, but only if genuine. Most importantly, I learned never to compromise my worth for someone else's brokenness. If anyone ever faced betrayal as deep as mine, I'd tell them this: storms eventually pass. People who hurt you show who they truly are, and that's a blessing even if it's a painful one. Let go of revenge, because karma always finds its way, often more perfectly than you could ever plan. Madison's threats had backfired spectacularly, delivering justice I never could have imagined. Now, walking forward, I was grateful, scarred but wiser, alone but genuinely free. The past was finally where it belonged, and for the first time in a long time, my future was completely, beautifully mine.